Hi, thank you for joining us for the Human Library video series. Today we are joined by Dr. Wendy Wright, artist, translator and writer. Today we will hear more about Wendy's journey and how she has used her passion to get to where she is today. Wendy, what does your professional life look like currently?
Yes, okay. To start as a writer, from somewhat the middle of the story of my life, and then fast forward or to track back by many years until I get to the age of 17, when I was finishing matriculation here in Australia and then went to Japan for the Christmas holidays and didn't come back, basically, because although I was only planning to go for 3 weeks from the summertime here into the snow of Japan to visit my father, my life took a sharp and unexpected turn due to family reasons, and I got into a university in Tokyo, the international section, decided just to stay there for 1 year, ended up doing my degree there and then carrying on until I came back to Australia to do the PhD here. So when you ask me what I'm doing now as a profession, I've followed the trail of my life by now teaching Japanese studies, translation of Japanese literature. In April, I go back to Japan's premier university for literature and for famous writers, Waseda University, and I translate from Japanese into English poetry. I talk about what translates and what doesn't, the theory of translation. I write poetry, I teach creative writing, and basically I'm a writer. Yeah, fabulous. I can't believe it myself. Yeah.
Can you name or describe a skill that has helped you get to this point?
Yes. Well, as we were briefly discussing over coffee 5 minutes ago, I don't think in terms of skill, I think in terms of passion. Because if we're passionate about something, we're going to excel at it anyway. You know, the less fear we have that we're not performing in the conventional way, the more passionate and skillful we will seem to others. Instead of trying to fit into convention, it's those who break the boundaries by doing what they feel is right, what they're passionate about, that are the ones who set the bar for excellence in this life. And so I would say that it's a love of the arts and a love of reading, a love of writing, which as a little girl I was told, oh, you're good at writing. I really loved hearing that I had that skill because I loved stories, and that is what has driven me on to be who and what I am today, and I think it's something that lives in everyone. So yes, just follow your passion. If you don't know what your chosen skill is, you will find it if you just keep doing what you feel you're good at and tell your own story. Bring what you feel you're good at into whatever profession you are involved in at that moment of your life, whether it be a doctor, a kindergarten teacher, a cook. You will find your path if you just keep doing what you love doing. So don't worry about choosing the wrong major. You know, there's such an interdisciplinary network of the education system and life these days that you can put things together in blocks, and one discipline feeds into the other, one skill complements the other.
Looking back, have you got a specific time when you have put your passion into practice and that has gotten you to where you are today? Can you talk a little bit about your passion?
Yes, I believe that, you see, when I was a little girl, it was when I was looking at the Technicolor photo books and films of what my nana gave me. I believe that it was the dream to be a ballerina that actually turned me into a writer, because it was not easy to study ballet or study dance in Tokyo at age 17, but somehow or another I found myself in the theatre over and over again, working as an interpreter for the Adelaide Festival of Arts or whatever it was, and then slipping from being an interpreter into the dance partner of the actual director of that workshop. And so life is very serendipitous. We find that we slip back into what we excel no matter what. So, and that drives us on to excel, and then that becomes our chosen profession. It's the power of the audience who is listening to your story, that it's the power of the joy of being heard that drives us on. And so because I believed that because I couldn't become a ballerina in Tokyo at age 17, this is in the days before contemporary dance was so wildly free that it's just a pleasure to, dance in whatever, break all conventions, Because I couldn't do classical dance in Japan, I became a writer through the writing process of writing poetry back to my nana in letters from Tokyo. And so that it's brought it home to me in my real life. The interdisciplinary nature of the arts, literature, opera, dance, film, are they any really different from one another, so much as a multi-stranded spectrum of what we call skills, and which is really just the telling of our stories in this life. All art is narrative, whether it's text or dance or whichever genre it is. So that's an amazing thing to know, because and to realize, because if we fail in one area of our lives, if we say to ourselves, I'm just a failed, ballerina, I knew I couldn't make it, or if we give up one subject or another because we've received an F on our transcript, these days, and in fact even in the olden days, we never had to give up at all. Just realize to yourself, I'll do it again. I'll put it together in blocks no matter what. I believe that the greatest artists in this world have always faced bad reviews, faced a parent or a sibling who's maybe envious at heart in saying, I knew that you'd fail, or you knew you'd never make it. It's the artists who then continue, like a surfer who wipes out, or someone riding a horse who falls off and then gets back on again. It's those who find the real joy of life, and the real joy of life is doing what we want to do for our work. So if you ever fail a subject, just say to yourself, I'll show them, I'll show myself, I'm going to do this again. And if I don't pass at this university or at this college, I'll just do it at another one. Because these days, time and distance, doesn't matter if you live in the middle of this vast country, it doesn't matter if you're studying by remote from overseas, not even distance can take your dreams away from you. That's the beauty of living as we do in this time on earth and in this country, which, like the pioneers of old, education and keeping on going through your challenges is highly valued. And so overseas, the Australians, the artists in Hollywood, the Australian artists in Hollywood are known as the wildest and the greatest. So let's listen to those who have followed their dreams and know that we can make it too. I'm watching you. I can't wait to see what you're going to come up with.
Yeah. Love that. What do you love about either your professional life or personal life at the moment?
Yes. Well, I think it's just absolutely incredible that these days, for example, the universities have so many links to other universities overseas, and it's actually easy to go to Oxford if you want. You can fly to Oxford. It seems absolutely out of this world, you know, and something that only privileged or brilliant people can do. But, you know, you could go to Hollywood and start studying filmmaking as long as you're really determined, because the network of the universities around the country, this is what I like about my life now and living in this age, is so connected and so powerful in that way. And when I was young, I made the colossal mistake of not, one day, just like a blind woman, after an argument with my boyfriend in Paris, I caught a train and a ferry to Oxford University, and there I was offered a scholarship to study, to take Japanese studies, but I was very upset about the idea of losing my boyfriend. So I made the unbelievable mistake of not taking up that scholarship at Oxford. Years and years later, and the years just go by as quickly, you know, as any of our grandparents say, I said to myself, I'm not going to just take the idea that I failed at going to Oxford. You know, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Oxford now myself and beg them if I can teach a lecture on Japanese poetry. And I actually did that. They accepted me. I taught the lecture on Japanese poetry, and then during COVID I published my poetry at Oxford by remote. And then I taught a lecture on Japanese architecture by remote, because after the first person said yes, you can teach the lecture on Japanese poetry, I reached out to Japanese the architectural people and asked them, can I teach this lecture about this incredible history of this Japanese temple in Kyoto? They said yes. So until we take that road that we think that, you know, we cannot go down, it's close to us anymore, we never know how incredibly exciting it can become. Yeah, that's what I love about my life now.
What you've just told me, what does that say about the values that are important to you?
Yes, I think the values that are important to me is are that just like a writer, if we don't give up, or a dancer, if we don't give up, if we do give up, that performance will never be realized, that book will never be written. And so it's very important when I look back on my younger self to say that the moments in which I felt the joy of life were truly when I didn't give up, no matter what those were saying around me, and no matter how difficult the circumstances. Sometimes if you just use that tension, use those difficulties to say, am I going to let this get me down, and take that energy and go forwards. Sometimes you can do better than anyone or even yourself could ever have imagined.
Yeah. So would you give that piece of advice to your younger self, or is there another piece of advice that you wish you had told your younger self? And what do you think your younger self would have said to that advice?
Yes. Well, it's the same advice as what the Catholic sisters gave me when I was 17, and which I said, oh, it's okay, I can handle it. And that is that, you know, even the greatest actors in Hollywood, even the people whose bodies seem like magic, they are so strong. The greatest dancers in the world, the greatest surfers in the world, they all became involved in, for example, drinking alcohol, you know, the joy of champagne, all of this kind of, you know, the glamour of it, the camaraderie of drinking with your friends and that kind of thing. It can be very destructive. It can be the absolute opposite of creativity. So try to overcome the excitement of doing something new by saying to yourself, I have heard this is dangerous and this could kill the strongest person on earth. And this could take away all my dreams, take away all my creativity. So although it's important to be wild, to go forward, it's also important to understand the physical and the psychological risks to our bodies and our minds, which are both fragile and very, very strong.